Alright, let's get to it. Evening. I'm Know Nothing Attorney. I know nothing, so you can too. Because it's only in embracing that we know nothing that we can actually learn anything, as we've demonstrated a few times on this channel already. If you don't accept that you know nothing, it's really hard to let new ideas in. And when you are willing to admit you know nothing, what you do is what we have done on this channel, which is ask for a source. Research the source. When people continue to assert their viewpoint without being able to back it up with evidence, that's when you know somebody is not willing to embrace being wrong. So what we were working on last night, OMG sticks, in so quick tonight. How's it going? I'm just the worst, I know. Chilling. Remind me where you're located, OMG sticks. What part of the world? Plano. For some reason, I thought you were one of the internationals. Plano, huh? I'm so sorry. So flat. Nothing to look at. Okay, so last night we were working on debate topic number 1. I think I mostly wrapped that up. So now we're going to do some prep on debate topic number 2. This one should be really easy, much like the last one. I mean, things tend to be easy to prove when you got there based on evidence in the first place. Didn't. I think you're in the same part of town as same part of the world. I mean, I think Denton is where who was it? Super Jesus is located. You've got a far right is and you're right next door. All right, let's jump over. Need to pull up the window. We need our research document.
Imagine that fresh sheet dead, that becomes fresh indeed. Down full fresh, fresh.
Now we just
Down full fresh.
out in front. There we go. Oh, that's not good. That shouldn't work that way. There we go. How was your Sunday? Did y'all get cold up there? Okay, we're gonna switch over to debate topic number 2. Nope. Whoa. Okay. Nope, didn't mean to get that. Okay. So, first primary resource, Treaty of Tripoli, of course. Just so I can read it out loud. Debate topic number 2 is the government of the United States of America is in no way founded on the Christian religion. A quote directly out of the Treaty of Tripoli, so it's a little bit of a trap if anybody accepts that debate topic. That date topic. Everybody loves talking about the Treaty of Tripoli on a date. Okay. Treaty of Tripoli. Oh, snap. My immediate assumption was like... What is that? Carbon monoxide poisoning? That's my immediate assumption. Just like 2 old people found in their home. Did not realize that it was a violent crime. Translation of the Treaty of Tripoli by Barlow has been questioned, and it has been disputed whether Article 11 in the English version of the treaty, ratified by the U.S. Senate, corresponds to anything of the same purport in the Arabic version. In 1931, David Hunter Miller completed a commission by the United States government to analyze United States treaties and to explain how they function and what they mean to the United States legal position in relationship to the rest of the world. According to Miller's notes, the Barlow translation is at best a poor attempt at a paraphrase or summary of the sense of the Arabic, and Article 11 does not exist at all. Wow. That's crazy. I had read something like that recently, and I was wondering, that was one of the things that I was wanting to look up tonight to see the veracity of. It's almost like the people who wrote the Treaty of Tripoli wrote it to only say that America is not a Christian nation for English speakers, or like it wasn't translated to the other side because they didn't want to adopt America's language, that they weren't a Christian nation. Either way, it's interesting. After comparing the English language version by Barlow with the Arabic and the Italian version, Miller continues by claiming that the Arabic text, which is between Articles 10 and 12, is in form a letter, crude and flamboyant, and withal quite unimportant from the day of Algiers to the Pasha of Tripoli. How that script came to be written and to be regarded, as in the Barlow translation, as Article 11 of the treaty as there written, is a mystery and seemingly must remain so. Nothing in the diplomatic correspondence of the time throws any light whatever on the point. Huh. Huh. Hey, Aliana. How you doing? Helloings. Helloings from me, too? Right now, we're debate prepping on the topic of America being a Christian nation. That's good, Aliana. I'm proud of you. Nicely done. Sobering up for stream. Had a nice relaxing Sunday. Maybe in the future, but not yet. Not yet. I gotta keep my wits about me until I get used to this. I wouldn't shy away from some kind of affected stream. I don't think that yeah, like I don't have like a toxic bone in my body that I'm aware of, so I don't think that like I should be afraid of anything that might come out. Like I have to wonder, like, would some not me come out on stream somehow? I don't know, but I don't think I would be concerned about that at all. I think that's the biggest concern with doing an inebriated stream, one kind or another. I don't know. Well, you know, I do have what I do have is a tendency. This has gotten me in trouble before. I have a tendency, even when I'm completely sober, to get it in my head that, you know, what would be funny is if what that person just said, if there were a really mean, cruel person here right now, that person could say this terrible thing in this moment. But if I said it, that person and I would both be completely aware that there's no way in no chance in hell that I would mean that. So it would be me mocking a person who would have that opinion. So that would be funny. And so I will say a thing that, like, in my head, it's like, there is no reasonable way that either of us would expect that I would ever say this. And the person would just look at me and go like, why did you say that? And I'm like, wait, no, you're not supposed, like, oh, hold on. So something like that could definitely get me in trouble. So maybe because of that specific tendency I have, a bad sense of humor that doesn't land, be a good one for me to avoid. Yeah, but like, the way my brain sees it, like, I'm not even trying to, like, communicate as if I'm saying it. Like, I'm saying it like I'm mocking a person, and I'm expecting the other person to get it. Like, they're, like, to receive the fact that I am being mocking of another person. Like, wouldn't terrible people be ridiculous in this moment? So I'm not even trying to communicate it at them. I'm trying to communicate it, I'm trying to communicate my joke to them. It doesn't make any sense. It's a totally neurodivergent thing. Okay, but I want the actual text of the Treaty of Tripoli. Here it is, Article 11. I'm trying to think of an example. I did it with my best friend a few months ago, and I made her very upset. I don't know, man. Stop. Stop. Oh my god. Okay. I don't want that. So as a... What happened? I was just explaining that I had that same issue with my best friend a few months ago, where, like, I think she was saying something where, like, she was upset about an interaction she had with her family, and oh, I know what it was. She was staying with me for a few months. She was between places, so I let her have the third bedroom in my place, and we were jokingly debating a subject, and then she wanted to drop the subject, and I was like, no, we need to settle this, and she's like, no, I'd rather drop the subject. I'm like, no, like, we definitely need to settle this before we move on. And she tried it one more time, and I was like, not in my house, because we had both talked about how shitty our families were, and how, like, anxiety, how much anxiety was driven into us by our families, and how we never felt safe in our own safe places. And I meant that entirely as a joke and thought she would take it as a joke, making fun of the people that in our lives suck. But her trauma received my words and thought that I was holding something over her where she thought I was a safe person. And yeah, that sucked. Are you making fun of me, or are you saying that's actually funny? Okay. I don't know what it is. I get in trouble for it all the time. Nope. Right a line, please. Nope. I meant justified. Thank you. Make fun of their trauma. Like, if you consider that, okay, I think I understand what you mean. If you're saying that's making fun of their trauma, it's like we are poking fun at the monster that has been bothering us our whole life. I don't know how many of my friends are neurotypical. She's probably at least halfway there. Yeah, I'm curious about last night because I was wondering how I was coming across. I was getting super exasperated last night with repeatedly asking for evidence of the whole Antifa thing. And like I started like raising my voice and getting really insistent, and I was wondering if I was coming off as angry. But I'm just like, just do the thing already. Was I coming off as mad? Okay, so we got the Treaty of Tripoli in here. As the government of the United States is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. Let's go ahead and put that in bold. As it has in itself no character of enmity against the laws, religion, or tranquility of Muslimen. And as the said states never have entered into any war or act of hostility against the Mahometan nation, it is declared by the parties that no pretext arising from religious opinions shall ever produce an interruption of the harmony existing between the two countries. Okay. 161? What's 161? The Antifa thing. Because I was telling Han, who's now banned both in the Twitch and in the Discord, I was telling him, like, you're gonna have a hard time making me angry because for most of my life I've had a really hard time expressing anger. It's something I've actually had to work on to like be able to stand up for myself in situations. And last night I knew that with who was it? I'm trying to remember their name. The one who was pushing the Antifa thing so much. Whatever. The guy who was Human Wrongs. Human Wrongs was pushing the Antifa thing. And I kept asking for evidence, and they kept going, I gave it to you. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Just show me the thing. Like, show me where the connection is. And, like, I started getting really, like, in it. But, like, I was wondering if I was coming off as angry. No, Human Wrongs is not banned. Han was banned because he used the R slur, and I asked him not to use the R slur again in chat. And then he posted a video where an airplane starts calling a kid the R slur or something. And so I banned him. And then he came into the Discord to complain that he hadn't broken the letter of the law. And I was like, good luck with that argument. Way to go. And then he posted that video and another video using the R slur in the Discord chat. So, banned him from the Discord chat. Yeah. set the rules. You break the rules, you're gone. I'm sorry. For some reason, people on the right have an issue with boundaries, it seems like. No, Aliana, Human Wrongs would tell you that Antifa and anti-fascist are two different concepts because Antifa has a very strict separate ideology which they either can't define for you or will say is identifying the entirety of the right as fascist and promoting any act to obstruct their actions up to and including political violence. And when asked for evidence that anyone who identifies as Antifa sees the entirety of the right as fascist, he couldn't give any kind of evidence for that. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how that is? Huh. It's almost like the immediate moment you start having consideration for other people, you find the conservative position to be untenable. Right? Exactly. So you're not part of Antifa then. You're just Antifa. They cannot continue to hold that position. I believe the tin in untenable is the same root as retain. Same tin and tain. Okay, we're doing religion in the Constitution. Article 6, Clause 3. Nope. Yeah. Oh, I need more facts about the Treaty of Tripoli. Okay, we need 1797, correct? 1797, submitted to the Senate. Ratified by the United States June 10th, 1797. Checkmate, atheists. I mean, sorry, non-secularists. Anti-atheists. Freaking anti-atheists out here causing all kinds of trouble. From what I notice, people who are openly anti-fascist wish to create a culture of resistance against fascist regimes. And that's what makes them an organization. That was the gist of what I got from Human Wrongs. A bunch of independent, unrelated groups who have similar ideologies makes them a group, an organization, that can be identified as a terrorist organization. Oh boy. So I came up with a fun debate strategy earlier today that I guess I can preview for you guys. See if you think it's a winner. I want to try this on somebody and ask them, after I ask them what their values are, because I always, like, if I get somebody in voice chat, I always want to ask, what is your core value that you would push for policy related to over any other? Then, oh shoot, what is the second question? Why can't I remember it? Oh, how would you define your own epistemology? And then third would be, can you agree that neither of us are going to walk away from this winning this? If not, I mean, we can still have a contentious debate, but that's where I want to start. But then from there, I want to ask, who would you label as, like, the worst human beings alive? Not, like, which people, but, like, what groups of people would you lump in there? How do you identify the worst people? And I imagine that murderers... Yeah, epistemology is your system for discerning truth from falsehood. How do you figure out what is true? about the world around you? How did you develop your worldview? I like to define my epistemology very similar to the scientific method, I think. And that would be hold no position until you have enough evidence to justify a position, then hold that position regardless of any merit, like value placed on the position, until such time as you have more evidence for an alternative position, at which point you should discard the previous position. So you have to have actual evidence to change your position. Yeah, but so I want to ask people who they would consider like the worst among people. What do they have to do to be considered the worst? And I imagine you're going to get a lot of responses on like murderers and rapists. They're the worst. And I want to push them on that and be like, what is it about those things that make them worse than other things? Give me like define what the violation is involved in that, because I assume those are the worst people because there's some kind of violation there. And I imagine you're going to ultimately get them down to one of two things. One would be it's a violation of a person's free will to do as they will with their life and their body. The alternative position is because it's what's the word I'm looking for? Oh dang it! It's wrong because it's wrong. Like I have a religious viewpoint on this, and that determines that it's wrong. So I believe it's wrong. At which point you would just be like, okay, so should we make law based on that? And most people will say no. So then you get back around to, so for what reason should we call these things the worst in terms of criminal law? And then you get back to the violation thing. And at that point, you've got so many fun routes to go on. You say, okay, what makes it different in abortion in this case? If you want to stop someone from having an abortion, you are doing the thing that you just said is what makes murder and rape so wrong. And then they can come up with other things like, well, there's another life involved in this case. Bigfoot exists. Demonstrate with evidence, Miles. What's your source? So then they can say, well, there's another life involved. So in that point, it becomes okay to violate that right in that way. And you can say, okay, if a rapist had to rape you to live, would it then be wrong to stop them? And then if somebody says, well, they made the choice to get involved in that, and you go, okay, if a woman accepted a drink from a rapist, is it then okay for the rapist to rape them? Have they agreed to that? And if they say the fetus is innocent, you say, okay, if the rapist who has to rape you to live only does it in their sleep, is it then wrong to stop them? Is that what takes that away? Oh, Miles, we don't accept anecdotal evidence. You're gonna have to do more than that. Sorry. I know. Anecdotes make things confusing. But also, you from the same position, once they say that this is the reason why murder or rape is wrong, then you can go to, so we agree that the justification for what is right and wrong is based on harm. Okay, then you and I are in agreement on how we should measure things in terms of what is right and wrong, at least when it comes to the law. Because that's an argument that I've had to have with people. I think that was one that, that wasn't Human Wrongs, was it? I think that was... No, I think that was Human Wrongs 2 nights ago. I had to explain that you can measure harm. It's not confusing. But there was a third position that I liked this for. Well, I took notes on it. And I know this is a completely unsolicited breakdown of an untried debate strategy. But, you know, we got to talk about something while there's no debating going on. Oh, yeah, and then just the fun one of... this is one I came up with while I was listening to Parker Get a Job debate earlier. And they were arguing with somebody who ended up coming to the position where they were like, I would support them. I would support Trump, for example, even if he was convicted of raping a child, because I support his policy. The policy is so important that I would still vote for him in order to prevent liberal policy taking control. And at that point, if we have gone through this conversation on, like, who are the bad people, and we come down to, oh, it's violations of, like, one's right to do what they will with their life and their body, you can just, I mean, I guess you don't even have to have that conversation to get here, but you can just be like, have you ever stopped to think about how the policies that you find so important bring you into alignment with criminals and rapists? And why? Why have you been put in that position where you have to vote for somebody who is those things? Just so you can keep your policy. You're put in that position, and I have not been put in that situation. It's not a coincidence. And this is why I got turned down explaining this, because this is what Aliano had brought up. It's funny how when you change from being on the right to being to the left, suddenly you have less of an issue with boundaries. Other people's boundaries. The right does not care about boundaries. Anybody know off the top of their head who drafted the Treaty of Tripoli? Man, that's even worse. 0 recorded objections. My lord. What a winner. My god. This is one of those things that I had to teach my MAGA coworker about. Like, you know, it was not founded on the Christian religion, right? You know that? Like, you know about the Treaty of Tripoli, where they explicitly said this, the entire Senate signed on? I would find it weird if it was Sam Adams. Oh, Sam. It's John Adams. Right? Am I going crazy? But it'd be weird for the president to draft it. Defrauded? What am I... Oh my god. Am I really sober? Who drafted? I felt like I was going crazy last night. That was wild. As I explained last night, my history of complex PTSD like makes it so that like my default position is I must be wrong. I must be the mistaken person in this situation. So for him to keep insisting that he had already proven his point, I was just sitting here going, what are you talking about? What have I missed? How have I interpreted this wrong?
No luck.
1796 treaty was negotiated between the United States and Tripoli by Captain Richard O'Brien. Joel Barlow was the U.S. Consul General in Algiers, and it is his translation of the Arabic text of the treaty that follows. Oh, it's that guy's fault that we effed up the Arabic translation? Wow, what a historical fuck up. Man. Drafted by Joel Barlow. What was the name? What was his title? Consul General. Things are quiet today. We haven't had any far right crazies come into chat yet, unless Miles plays chess was far right and just having a fun time with Bigfoot. Was the treaty with Algiers, Tripoli, and Barbary? Tripoli of Barbary. Okay. It's such a funny piece of history. For anybody not paying attention, Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli explicitly has America saying that America is in no way founded on the Christian religion or the American federal government. And that's Article 11. And in the Arabic language, Article 10 goes to some completely different text. And then it comes back and goes to Article 12. And the text that was mentioned is like a section of a letter from the leader of Algiers to the leader of Tripoli. It's so weird. so bizarre. Huh. Okay. Next point. Ah, right. We're going to the Constitution. We're going to Article 6, Clause 3. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. But no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. There it is. That is language that you would find in a secular document. May I share my experiences with right-wing hate groups and terror cells? Of course. Right, you were telling us last night about your indoctrination, right? What was I doing? Besides spacing out with ADHD? This isn't the right tab. It's not the right tab. I mean, obviously, the First Amendment should have known better than that. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, the right of the people peacefully to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Jefferson's Wall of Separation letter. Let's read it ourselves. Oh, hey, nice, thank you. Appreciate that. This is the origin of the separation of church and state position. Oh. What is going on? Just can't scroll up any farther. Okay. Don't worry about it. You're not taking up anybody else's space. to Monsieurs Nehemiah Dodge, Ephraim Robbins, and Stephen Nelson, a committee of the Danbury Baptist Association in the state of Connecticut. Gentlemen, the affectionate sentiments of esteem and approbation which you are so good as to express toward me, on behalf of the Danbury Baptist Association, give me the highest satisfaction. My duties dictate a faithful and zealous pursuit of the interests of my constituents, and in proportion as they are persuaded of my fidelity to these duties, the discharge of them becomes more and more pleasing. Believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only and not opinions, I contemplate with sovereign reverence that act of the whole American people which declared that their legislature should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Adhering to this expression of the supreme will of the nation in behalf of the rights of conscience, I shall see with sincere satisfaction the progress of those sentiments which tend to restore to man all his natural rights, convinced he has no natural right in opposition to his social duties. I reciprocate your kind prayers for the protection and blessing of the common Father and Creator of man, and tender you for yourselves and your religious association assurances of my high respect and esteem. Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists. Sure. Just do this. Okay, I hope you don't mind if I read it out loud. Message me if you don't want me to read it out loud. Their whole thing is their leadership are veterans of wars. Okay. Their whole thing is their leadership are veterans of wars or people highly educated in psychology who specialize in manipulating people en masse through digital media marketing funnels. It's called an open source terrorism operation. It's what I was a victim of. Their goal is to create people who are first and foremost ready and willing to use a firearm recklessly and willing to die. Then second, either turn them into an incredibly capable leader or fodder. One teaching was you'll never really have an edge against the state since they have billions of dollars, so treat your lower enlisted as disposable. Make sure their deaths are economical, as in it creates more willing future martyrs, and make them willing to die or convince them it'll be a walk in the park. One way they lie to make it sound easy is to tell basic things like how to avoid gunpowder residue, how to deal with fibers of clothing being shed at the crime scene, and skin flakes, how to deal with fingerprints, the rifling on the bullet, and the cartridge casing. Good lord. That's extremely intense. And how did you come to be in this situation? Let me know if you can hear a humming sound. My daughter turned up the box fan that's in the room, so I just want to make sure I know if that's coming through. Or if you hear any other kind of audio distortion. Madison's Memorial and Remonstrance. Instagram. They recruit off Instagram LOLs. I've had unsupervised internet access my entire childhood. Protect your kids, man. Don't let them use the internet without your supervision. Hey, Lord, do you hear that? When you're going around the internet just looking at random stuff, don't let people convince you to do violent or hateful things. Yeah, I didn't figure. You're too sweet of a kid. Laura's too sweet and informed of a kid. Laura's super smart. Laura can talk about any subject, right, Laura? One of my proudest parenting moments was having to explain to my 9-year-old what a furry is. And I did not shy away from that conversation. I had to ask for a 30-minute break to think about how I wanted to present that information. We support furries' right to be furries. I don't yuck yums. My grandfathers fought in the military for the right of a furry to be a furry. Who were the Danbury Baptists? Danbury Baptist Association was a group of Baptist churches in Danbury, Connecticut. They were a religious minority being persecuted by other Christians. Exactly. This is the point that I want to raise with Christian nationalists. It is so dumb. If you start playing the in-group game, you're gonna get fucked by the in-group game. The in-group game does not help anyone. I don't know what yuck your yums means. My uncles murdered corrupt politicians in a communist insurgency for the right of gay men to be gay. Hell yeah. Yuck your yum is like... the yum is somebody's particular interest in the bedroom, or, you know, just in general. Their kink. And saying I'm not gonna yuck your yum is like, I'm not going to show you any distaste that I may feel or may not feel for your interest because I support you having your own interest. Connecticut in 1801 had an established church, the Congregationalist Church. Smith tax dollars went to support Congregationalist ministers. Baptists had to pay taxes to a church they didn't belong to. Religious dissenters faced legal and social discrimination. Baptists couldn't hold certain offices. The irony is critical. The Danbury Baptists weren't secularists worried about religion and government. They were devout Christians worried about the wrong Christianity controlling government. Were they not secularists? They can be Christians and still be secularists. October 7th, 1801, Danbury Baptists wrote to the newly elected President Jefferson expressing gratitude that Jefferson supported religious liberty, frustration that in Connecticut religious freedom was treated as a favor granted by the legislature rather than an inherent right, hope that Jefferson's example would influence their state. Cool. There's a cool fact. He consulted with his attorney general before responding. Well, furries don't. It doesn't have to be a kink, and that's part of what was made it such a difficult conversation to have. Somebody had called her that, and I said, you need to tell an adult when somebody tells you that, because they shouldn't be calling you that. And she asked why, and I had to sit there and go, okay, well, doesn't necessarily mean any one specific thing, but the problem is that it can mean any range of things, and people could be associating any of those things with you without you adopting that position. They taught details like security cameras can tell you who you are through balaclavas, and these days because of AI, so use a Halloween mask or a fake beard or face sculpting clay underneath your balaclava, or a visage mask or a gas mask. Recently, as I've been monitoring them a lot of them have been saying stuff like what human wrongs have said, such as it's not racist to profile, that Haitians and Indians are invaders, and to kill invaders. They've also been convincing young men to shoot down security cameras and flock cameras around the city. Oh, she was being bullied. Send her to boxing class, bro. I would love to get her engaged in a combat sport. I think it'd be great for Laura to be in a combat sport. But Laura isn't interested in any combat sports. We had recently talked about playing field hockey, though. It's not the same thing, but, you know. Get what you can. Let's pick this back up later. Let's see if I can find the cult that I had an experience with. It's not, like, in no way the same story, but you know, you make me, like, you talk about joining an extreme group. It makes me think of the extreme group that I've had an association with. Not that I personally was part of, but this is why being anti-fascist is important to me, by the way, because they organize to kill. It's the right of an endangered group to defend themselves. Hockey's basically yeah. I mean, I don't know what girls field hockey gets into. Let's just go over here.
A cult disguised as a church? That's what some accuse the Church of Wells of being in northeastern Texas. In an exclusive interview, Dr. Phil goes behind the closed doors of the church and hears from
This is a
one man
news segment?
who claims he was brainwashed and drugged.
I'm allowed to
Finally
share
leaving
news
the group
segments. As
behind.
long as it's a news segment, I can share
When
it.
you got there, how did he look?
There he is. That's the guy that I helped
looked bad.
rescue.
I mean,
From a cult.
His beard was all unkept, like his hair was a mess. He's wearing like these clothes that are way too big for him. Like
There's his brother,
he looked like he'd just
actually
been doing,
sweet
like, yard
guy.
Work for like 10 hours.
This
And
guy was
he
rude
looked,
to everyone who
either
rescued him.
sleep-deprived or like, I mean, he looked bizarre.
Do you feel like you were drugged the entire time you were there in an altered state of consciousness to some degree?
I would say
He
it was
did
a
get
mix of drugs.
a hair test and
Dr.
found
Phil
that,
joins us
if
now
I
to
remember
talk about
correctly,
this Church of Wells. This is a
sedatives,
two-parter for
tranquilizers,
you.
and
The first part's
Rufalin,
going to be airing today.
all in his system.
Sleep
while he was at
deprivation, drugs. I mean, this does sound like a cult. I know they're calling themselves.
Yeah,
a church.
I helped rescue a
It does
guy
sound
I never
like a
liked.
cult, and this young man was an outreach minister
he was
himself.
like,
he was in Austin, Texas.
this
and he
is
would
a
talk to
friend group,
college students or
I'm over here and he's
whoever
over
about,
here, part of the
their
same friend
beliefs and
group, but
about
we are as
the
far
Lord,
away
and
from each other
he's
as
very
possible
serious
in that
about
friend
it all.
group.
These young men, they look like maybe early 30s.
I went
approach him, they
regardless,
say they're
because
elders of
that's
the
what you
church,
do.
and
Hey,
they were
Light
talking about
Spectre,
it.
what's
Give him a
going
bottle of
on?
water. He now
Oh,
says
hi.
he thinks that was drugged.
Briefly getting
Because
into
he
my
gets
experience with the cult.
disoriented very soon. He starts to can't stay awake. They drive him for hours.
I was saying, yeah, I did help rescue a bro. I helped
Pounding him
rescue a
with
bro
this
I didn't even like.
indoctrination of the Church of Rome.
We were part of the same friend group, but if you got a friend group that's a circle, yeah, I was over here and he was over here, and we were like completely opposite from each other. Yeah, this is a great way to demonstrate things, right? Part of the same friend group, but never liked each other.
Wells morals and beliefs and scripture, and I mean just relentless.
But you look out for people, right? And you have the option to do so.
He wakes up,
and it
goes
was
to sleep, wakes up at the
something
Church
that
of Wells, and
was the
they
last
take
straw
his
that made me
phone,
decide to
take
go
his
to law
clothes,
school.
Give him different clothes. And again,
One,
they
because
say he's in
I
a
looked
big
at
room
the
with
kids in the
mattresses
Church
all
of
over the
Wells
floor,
and
they keep him isolated.
felt
He
like
said
it
when he got
was
there,
it should be a
everybody
crime
there already knew
to
his
treat
name,
children
and they
in
were
this
all
way.
telling him how much they loved
So I
him
was hoping to
right
find
off,
something that could be
and
done
really
for
sucking
these
him
kids.
in. And he says he
I'd
was
already
drugged the whole time.
I'd been teaching the LSAT at that point, and my score was good enough that people were like, you should go to law school. But I hadn't taken that seriously until that moment. But the other thing was that sitting in that cult cabin on their compound,
and they take his phone, so he can't call anybody. And so they start trying to find him. And
rhetorically
they call his
called
cell phone. His
bullshit
brother
on
finds his phone lighting up in Wells, Texas.
the cult
They get
people
on
who
the
were
internet
trying
and it
to
says
argue. Like,
Church of Wells,
we were allowed to
cut,
come
caution, stay
to
away.
talk to Jordan
So
to
they
try to
go
convince
out
him to
there.
leave.
It
And so what it
scared
ended
them
up
to
being
death.
was
They
like
go there and they talk to
two
these
semicircles
people
of people arguing with each other in front of Jordan
before
to
they will
try
even
to
let
win
them
him
speak
over.
to their loved one.
And
finally
the cult
they say,
people kept
"Well,
being like,
we'll
oh,
let you
your
speak to him,
words
but
sound like
only
they come
with
from a
him
place of
there."
anger.
And
Anger comes from
finally
a place
they
of
get him
place
for
of
like
evil in the
5
heart.
years by himself
Oh, it sounds like you're
and get them to
afraid.
let
Oh,
him-
well, fear
let
comes
them
from a
take
place
him
of
to
evil in the
lunch.
heart. And
And they
like,
promised
I
to
just
bring
sat
him
here
back
quietly
when
and
he
they were
got out
throwing
of the
Bible verses
shop.
at each other, and there was no way I could
So you
quote
talked
Bible
about,
verses
these men
in
that
this conversation, so I felt
these
completely
church
left out.
elders. Those
So
three
instead,
guys
what
were
they did
friends.
was just sit and watch the
And
rhetorical strategy.
Clearly,
And then when I had the opportunity, I
they
called out the
secretly
rhetorical
shopping, they're looking
strategy,
for
and
people
that's
because
when
they
like
had
the
him in the car and
what
gone.
what it felt like for me, like the
This
conversation
turns
pivoted
into a
in
two-parter
tone,
because
where they
on
were like,
Monday,
that
we talked
he is
to the
not
Grove
supposed to
family.
say
They
the
have a
thing we're
daughter
doing.
that they say has been there since 2013. She's
It was
a
scary.
college
They offered us
graduate,
water too.
various, outgoing,
They offered us water, and then when
they
we found
say
out
she
he
was trying
had
to
been
escape
drugged,
4
and we
times.
were like, and
Since
part
she's
of that
been there,
is
and we actually
they
have
can claim
testimony
that
from a
he
sheriff
he
that
can
encountered her
like
along the side of the road,
they picked him up because he
disoriented,
was struggling
didn't know
with
where she was
sin,
going,
and they
didn't know
brought
where she
him home,
wanted to
and
go.
they
Probably said,
they had
"I
a
just
whole
have to
night
go
of
back home so I can
interrogating
go back."
him and having him
instead, the
confront
church
God,
denies all of
a
this.
night
They
of
say, "We're not a
sleeplessness as
cult,
they
we're just a
grilled the
religious
shit out of him.
organization.
And they can be
We're
like,
a
oh,
sect.
well, he mentioned
We're
that
just
he
leading
had
people
an
to the
issue
Lord.
with
We're not
drugs,
doing
so
any
it has
wrong.
nothing to
People
do
are
with us. He
overreacting.
had
So
drugs
they deny
in
it
his
all,
system
but
when he
these
came to
people are
us.
very, very concerned, and
So
a
they
lot
use
of
it as a
folks are
deflection
concerned.
strategy to be like, there's nothing wrong with us. These other people are drug addicts.
Right.
But it's gotta
So
get your
if
attention
we
now.
had taken
Got
their
my
water,
attention because if they're taking people out of their lives and holding them,
Yeah.
there are no fences,
Yeah.
there are no locks, there are no
I have no
chains.
doubt they
But
tried
let
to
me
drug
tell you,
us. It
you
was
get someone drugged and indoctrinated,
insane.
you can get a real hold on them. They're starting to tell him. He said
My
they're
ex
telling
at
him,
the
"Your
time, we
family
went
doesn't
together,
love you, we
and there
love
was
you,
supposed to be an
this is the only
off-site
place you're safe.
site
It's terrible
for
out
people
there,"
to be
which
waiting
is exactly
to
what you
switch
do
with
if
people
you're
who are
trying
on
to
site at the cult
brainwash them.
compound.
So what
Because we
about
were told we
Church
were going to be
Wells? What about the
told for
authorities? Can they
hours
do
that we
anything?
were like we were going to be
Well,
basically
there is a pastor
filibustered.
that lives
They're going to be
in
like,
adjoining
oh, you can talk to
properties,
Jordan. You'll be able to talk to him in a
he
few
says
hours.
he's very
And then we
concerned
wouldn't be
about
able to, and they'll
what's
be
going
like,
on there.
well,
But
just
the
a few more
authorities
hours
say
and you'll be able
we're
to talk to
having
Jordan.
problems with him.
So we
They
had
say
a
when
couple
they
of
come
teams
to
ready
town,
to
they do their
switch back and
business, they
forth.
do their shopping,
And when
they
I
go
showed
back,
up there,
which would be what you would
there was
expect.
no
They
off-site
were
team.
very
Not enough people had
disciplined.
come.
They come in,
So
get
there
in
was
trouble,
just the
get back,
on-site team, and we
stay
were given
inside their
directions by
group.
phone on how to
Well,
get
now
where we
they've
were
actually
going. And
taken a close
I
look at what's
brought
going
my
on behind that
one-year-old,
boarded up, window
and
there.
my
Dr.
ex-wife
Phil,
and my
thank you so
one-year-old,
much.
Thank
I
you.
drove them onto a
Seeing you
cult
again.
compound.
So be sure to check your local
They were
listings to
not
find
supposed to
out
be there.
when. You can watch
We had
part one
agreed
of the
that they were
two-part
not supposed to
series
be
today
there.
and part
And
two
then when
on
we got
Monday.
there, there was like a whole circle of people surrounding Jordan talking to him. And I told my wife at the time, get the hell out of there, take our kid and go. And she's like, no, don't, you're not allowed to just like kick me out. Like, you know, I should, if you're going to be here, I should be here. I was like, we brought our kid. You were supposed to wait off site with our kid. We brought our kid. You cannot keep our kid here. If they truly believe what they say they believe, they would be in the wrong to not try to rescue our kid from us. You gotta go. And the other funny thing was that the like leaders that we got to talk to, or the higher ups, they would talk to my wife. My wife never wore wear makeup. And so they would talk to her, and there was another woman in our group who they would not even look at. They would not acknowledge her existence because she was a painted Jezebel. I was not strapped. I could have been better prepared. But there were a whole group of us, and people knew where we were going, so I was not concerned that anything was going to happen to us. I think they would have drugged us, but we wouldn't have been able to prove that. They would have just called us drug addicts. Yep, painted Jezebel. Wouldn't talk to her at all. Well, I was about to say something else. Man, I don't know. I lost track of it. But yeah, it was a well time. Oh yeah. Also, we were told that we were the most successful rescue that had ever happened. We had figured out where he was faster than anyone had ever figured out where their family had disappeared to. Their friends or family had disappeared to. We figured out where he went faster than anyone and immediately responded faster than anyone. He disappeared on a Monday. We were there on site in Wells on Friday. And there was already news reports and everything, and the way we were told it was happening, because there was like a whole on-site like resistance effort, and we were in communication with those guys a lot, and the resistance effort told us that it seems like the Church of Wells is panicking and wants this to go away as quickly as possible, because we have brought way too much heat on them. They don't like to be put in the media, and just the way we were responding was enough to scare the shit out of them and agree to having us there. So they knew if we were there and something happened to us, it would be on the media. It would be in the media again. Hell yeah, it was kind of wild. Like it was Halloween night 2015. He went out to street preach on 6th Street in Austin on his own. And so he was doing the thing like "You deserve hell," holding signs like that. No mystery that like we were on opposite sides of this friend group. And he was approached by some people that were like, "Hey, you do this? We also do this. This is what we commit our whole life to. We have a whole community that does this." And at the time, Jordan had been kind of feeling like, I guess, like a burnout. Like he hadn't made anything of himself and was trying to figure out what his cause was, what his purpose was. And they're like, "You want to come with us and be part of our community?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then he rode with them all the way back to Wells, and they were like, "Do you want to let somebody else drive your car all the way back there and you ride with us? Do you want to turn your car over to the Church of Wells, make it our car?" Yeah, all of that. Do you want to not tell anyone where you're going? And so it got to be Wednesday, and one of our friends just like they would hang out every single day, or at least talk to each other every single day. And he's like, "Hey, it's been 2 days. Have any of you guys seen Jordan?" And I was down in San Marcos at the time, and nobody had seen him, heard from him since Monday, Halloween. And so on Wednesday, we all gathered in downtown Austin, and we went door to door on 6th Street asking for permission to review their security footage from the night before. And then we saw him walking down 6th Street with a guy in a button-up polo and khakis. And his brother got in touch with a family friend who was an expert in missing persons. And so the first thing he said was like, he was walking down the street with somebody in a button-down polo and slacks. And she was like, "Oh no, that sounds like the Church of Wells." And they got in touch with the leadership of the Church of Wells the next day, and they got a tacit agreement for people to be there to talk to Jordan on Friday. And so they mounted an effort to get as many people as they could to come with them, and went with them for that. Yeah, it was wild. It was actually crazy. And the guy that I made, like, I could tell I made him really mad. He's an ex-Marine, and dude was like jacked. And I was like, you're obviously crazy. You're a crazy ex-Marine. I don't know if I want to be having this fight, but I gotta call bullshit on your rhetoric. Like, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go put my kid to bed, and I will be back shortly. And when I come back, if you're still around, I'm happy to tell you how that conversation actually went in the cult leader cabin. What was I doing? I was gonna put the music back on. Light Spectre, have I never told you the cult story? Usually that one comes out. You know, I figured I would have told it. Well, yeah, but we've known each other for a couple years now. Okay, I will be right back. I'm gonna put my kiddo to bed. Swoop. All right. We're back. And completely out of focus. Yeah. There we go. All better. Welcome back to me being back. Who we got still with us? Light Spectre's here. Good to have you here. Been around since the dawn. Beginning of the channel. It's the Honorable... Is that really how they said that? To the Honorable the General Assembly of the Commonwealth of Virginia. A memorial and remonstrance. We, the subscribers, citizens of the said Commonwealth, having taken into serious consideration a bill printed by order of the last session of General Assembly entitled A Bill Establishing a Provision for Teachers of the Christian Religion, and conceiving that the same, if finally armed with the sanctions of a law, will be a dangerous abuse of power, are bound as faithful members of a free state to remonstrate against it, and to declare the reasons by which we are determined. We remonstrate against the said bill. The because we hold it for a fundamental and undeniable truth that religion, or the duty which we owe to our Creator and the manner of discharging it, can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence. The religion, then, of every man must be left to the conviction and conscience of every man, and it is the right of every man to exercise it as these may dictate. This right is in its nature an unalienable right. It is unalienable because the opinions of men, depending only on the evidence contemplated by their own minds, cannot follow the dictates of other men. It is unalienable also because what is here a right towards men is a duty towards the Creator. It is the duty of every man to render to the Creator such homage, and such only as he believes to be acceptable to him. This duty is precedent, both in order of time and in degree of obligation to the claims of civil society. Before any man can be considered as a member of civil society, he must be considered as a subject of the governor of the universe. And if a member of civil society who enters into any subordinate association must always do it with a reservation of his duty to the general authority, much more must every man who becomes a member of any particular civil society do it with a saving of his allegiance to the universal sovereign. We maintain, therefore, that in matters of religion, no man's right is abridged by the institution of civil society, and that religion is wholly exempt from its cognizance. True it is that no other rule exists by which any question may divide a society can be ultimately determined but the will of the majority, but it is also true that the majority may trespass on the rights of the minority. Oof, this is long. In short, I believe he's saying that the duty to God is above the duty to civil society. So what is ordained by civil society cannot touch on one's duty to God, but one's duty to God can only be between them and God. Who does not see that the same authority which can establish Christianity in exclusion of all other religions may establish with the same ease any particular sect of Christians in exclusion of all other sects? Exactly. Don't play the in-group game. Thank you, James Madison. Well, Light Spectre, it seems like you might be the only person still hanging around. I mean, I can at least see what we got. We got 3 viewers in chat, but you're the only one who seems to be present enough to respond. Do you want to hear how the actual conversation went in the cult cabin? 'Cause I find it to be a particularly funny story. And, is the origin of my debate style, I guess. How's that cult? How are they? How are they doing these days? Well, as far as I'm aware, they've done what they prefer to do and fallen off the face of the media. We can check and see. Looks like they've been in the news the past couple of years. Oh my god! In June 2022, Texas Monthly Magazine reported that one of the church's side businesses, a sawmill, which they have children working at, was responsible for 25, at least that is what I'm aware of, that is what I've heard, I cannot claim that to be a fact, was responsible for 25% of all reported sawmill accidents in the entire state, along with allegations of child labor law violations and unreported accidents. See? It's in there. I wasn't the only one. He believed the camera crew had spotted sweat lodges where people were deprived of sleep, water, and nutrition as a form of indoctrination. That is what Jordan reported going through. The parents of Catherine Grove also appeared and discussed their story on the show. Oh no, wait. I moved up a paragraph. Of course, this is what Jordan claimed to have done, because this is referring to Jordan. Oh, this is from James Maddox. I remember talking to James Maddox. There's a whole Wikipedia paragraph on Jordan. October 2016, a young outreach minister named... That is a very... What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. It's a complimentary way to describe Jordan. He just preaches on the street. A young outreach minister named Jordan Reichenberger alleged he was drugged, kidnapped, and indoctrinated by church members. He claims to have been approached by 2 church elders in downtown Austin, and he says that he became disoriented after drinking a bottle of water offered by the 2. Shortly after, they drove Reichenberger to the church complex in Wells, where he claims that he was habitually drugged and physically held against his will in an effort to brainwash him. After 5 days, his brother Ian tracked Jordan's location down via cell phone, and his family traveled to Wells to get him out. Family and friends. Upon arrival, Reichenberger's family had a verbal dispute with church members, and after several hours, were finally able to get him out of the compound. A subsequent hair and blood analysis verified evidence of the drugging. Ooh, they're just going to state it as fact in the article. Fun. Okay, Sawmill would later be cited by OSHA. In addition, the sawmill's purported owner was sued by Green Mountain Energy for over $16,000 in unpaid electric bills. Oh man, are they falling on hard times? When we dealt with them, the actual leader of the cult was not in the country. He had gone to Australia because their Australian branch was bleeding membership. So I wonder if that has continued in the last 10 years. In May to June 2025, the Church of Wells led a protest against the National Eucharist Pilgrimage, a Catholic event held in multiple sites across the United States. The pilgrimage has groups of several young adult Catholics carry the Holy Eucharist, which is the consecrated host believed to have the true and real presence of Jesus Christ. The pilgrimage began in Indianapolis, Indiana, and stopping... Wow, who wrote this? Stopping at Catholic cathedrals and churches in 10 states for adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, masses, and completing the works of mercy. The Church of Wells followed the event route, protesting with megaphones and engaging in anti-Catholic street evangelization, as well as disrupting attendees' prayers. This attracted additional anti-Catholics from outside their group. Participating Catholics did not engage church members, continuing the event and growing their numbers while praying for Christian unity. Womp womp, get out of here. Participating Catholics, the Church of Wells soon began harassing individuals by name, leading to event organizers tightening security. Yep. They want to harass you individually. We were lucky to not have them hound us after the events with Jordan, but they wanted us to disappear from the media. We very well could have been harassed. I don't know why they haven't picked up harassing us. Dude got my name specifically as I was leaving the cabin. I shouldn't have given it to him, but I was feeling pretty smug, so it was a failure on my part. The false Jesus of the modern church. Can't play any of their videos. Don't want them coming after me for that. This is when drugs from the pharmacy are witchcraft and sorcery. Cool. Cool. The Church of Wells is neither a church nor a cult. In my opinion, this is a criminal organization passing as a religious group. It's a fair interpretation. I mean, no, not. I mean, they are a criminal organization that is using a cult to further their criminal empire. That is to say, if the allegations of child labor are true. And drugging people, if the allegations of drugging people are true. Which, according to Jordan, his drug tests proved were true. Yep, and then they'll prey on young women through communicating with them through Facebook Messenger or email. And then as soon as women get there, the wives of the elders will tell the women that God came to them in a dream and told them that she should consider marrying so-and-so who's been in the church already, so that they can quickly marry these women off and get them children inside the church. Groves. I talked to Patty Grove once. She was a very sweet person. Their daughter has gone in and out of the church multiple times. She's left at least twice, I think. Here they are. Ryan Ringnold, let's see, Sean. I don't remember their names. Give me the names of the leaders. Oh, there they are. Sean Morris. And Ryan Gardner. No, Gardner. What's Gardner's first name? It's Ryan Ringnold. Coworker I had in Houston when I worked as an attorney in Houston for less than a year. Her college roommate dated Ryan Ringnold. Wild connection. Do you just call him Gardner? Jacob Gardner. I think Jacob Gardner was the leader who was on site while we were there. That name sounds right. From left, Morris. Yeah, I think Jacob Gardner was present on site. It may have been Sean Morris. Ringnold is definitely the one that I never got to meet. I mean, I didn't meet either of them. They didn't actually go to the cabin. They were on site on the compound, though. They waved us in. Creepy. Okay, so it seems like it's a slow night. I think I'll finish this debate topic, prepping it, and then I'll just hit the hay for tonight. Be back again tomorrow. And the music is done. We got 4 viewers in chat. Everybody's very quiet. Very quiet. That's not what I meant to do. Okay. Don't want that anymore. Add Memorial Remonstrance up. Nope. There it is. Don't get me talking about religion. It turns into discussion about cults. Alright. Well, if nobody's going to tell me they mind, I'm just going to read this whole thing. Let's get the whole context. Review this first paragraph. Well, it's a bigger quote than I wanted, but... Alright, I need the context. Religious assessments, 1785. Interesting. Virginia. Patrick Henry, no! Give me liberty or give me death? Come on. Okay. Because if religion be exempt from the authority of the society at large, still less can it be subject to that of the legislative body. The latter are but the creatures and vicegerents of the former. Their jurisdiction is both derivative and limited. It is limited with regard to the coordinate departments. More necessarily, it is limited with regard to the constituents. The preservation of a free government requires not merely that the metes and bounds which separate each department of power be invariably maintained, but more especially that neither of them be suffered to overleap the great barrier which defends the rights of the people. The rulers who are guilty of such an encroachment exceed the commission from which they derive their authority, and are tyrants. The people who submit to it are governed by laws made neither by themselves nor by an authority derived from them, and are slaves. Because it is proper to take alarm at the first experiment on our liberties, we hold this prudent jealousy to be the first duty of citizens, and one of the noblest characteristics of the late Revolution. The free men of America did not wait till usurped power had strengthened itself by exercise, and entangled the question in precedence. they saw all the consequences in the principle, and they avoided the consequences by denying the principle. We revere this lesson too much soon to forget it. Who does not see that the same authority which can establish Christianity in exclusion of all other religions may establish with the same ease any particular sect of Christians in exclusion of all other sects? That the same authority which can force a citizen to contribute 3 pence only of his property for the support of any one establishment may force him to conform to any other establishment in all cases whatsoever. Because the bill violates that equality which ought to be the basis of every law, and which is more indispensable in proportion as the validity or expediency of any law is more liable to be impeached. If all men are by nature equally free and independent, all men are to be considered as entering into society on equal conditions, as relinquishing no more, and therefore retaining no less, one than another, of their natural rights. Above all, are they to be considered as retaining an equal title to the free exercise of religion according to the dictates of conscience. Whilst we assert for ourselves a freedom to embrace, to profess, and to observe the religion which we believe to be of divine origin, we cannot deny an equal freedom to those whose minds have not yet yielded to the evidence which has convinced us. Oof, I like that. If this freedom be abused, it is an offense against God, not against man. To God, therefore, not to man, must on account of it be rendered. As the bill violates equality by subjecting some to peculiar burdens, so it violates the same principle by granting to others peculiar exemptions. Are the Quakers and Mennonists the only sects who think a compulsive support of their religions unnecessary and unwarrantable? Can their piety alone be entrusted with the care of public worship? Ought their religions to be endowed above all others with extraordinary privileges by which proselytes may be enticed from all others? We think too favorably of the justice and good sense of these denominations to believe that they either covet preeminences over their fellow citizens, or that they will be seduced by them from the common opposition to the measure. Because the bill implies either that the civil magistrate is a competent judge of religious truth, or that he may employ religion as an engine of civil policy. The first is an arrogant pretension falsified by the contradictory opinions of rulers in all ages and throughout the world. The second, an unhallowed perversion of the means of salvation. Because the establishment proposed by the bill is not requisite for the support of the Christian religion. To say that it is a contradiction of the Christian religion itself, for every page of it disavows a dependence on the powers of this world. It is a contradiction of fact, for it is known that this religion both existed and flourished, not only without the support of human laws, but in spite of every opposition from them. And not only during the period of miraculous aid, but long after it had been left to its own evidence and the ordinary care of providence. Nay, it is a contradiction in terms, for a religion not invented by human policy must have pre-existed and been supported before it was established by human policy. It is moreover to weaken in those who profess this religion a pious confidence in its innate excellence and the patronage of its author, and to foster in those who still reject it a suspicion that its friends are too conscious of its fallacies to trust it to its own merits. Because experience witnesseth the ecclesiastical establishments, instead of maintaining the purity and efficacy of religion, have had a contrary operation. During almost 15 centuries has the legal establishment of Christianity been on trial. What have been its fruits? More or less in all places, pride and indolence in the clergy, ignorance and servility in the laity, in both superstition, bigotry, and persecution. Inquire of the teachers of Christianity for the ages in which it appeared in its greatest luster. Those of every sect point to the ages prior to its incorporation with civil policy. Propose a restoration of this primitive state in which its teachers depended on the voluntary rewards of their flocks. Many of them predict its downfall. On which side ought their testimony to have the greatest weight, win for or win against their interest? Because the establishment in question is not necessary for the support of civil government, if it be urged as necessary for the support of civil government only as it is a means of supporting religion, and it be not necessary for the latter purpose, it cannot be necessary for the former. If religion be not within the cognizance of civil government, how can its legal establishment be necessary to civil government? What influence, in fact, have ecclesiastical establishments had on civil society? In some instances, they have been seen to erect a spiritual tyranny on the ruins of the civil authority. In many instances, they have been upholding the thrones of political tyranny. In no instance have they been seen the guardians of the liberties of the people. Rulers who wish to subvert the public liberty may have found an established clergy convenient auxiliaries. A just government instituted to secure and perpetuate it needs them not. Such a government will be best supported by protecting every citizen in the enjoyment of his religion with the same equal hand which protects his person and his property, by neither invading the equal rights of any sect, nor suffering any sect to invade those of another. Because the proposed establishment is a departure from the generous policy, which, offering an asylum to the persecuted and oppressed of every nation and religion, promised a luster to our country and an accession to the number of its citizens. What a melancholy mark is the bill of sudden degeneracy. Instead of holding forth an asylum to the persecuted, it is itself a signal of persecution. It degrades from the equal rank of all citizens all those whose opinions in religion do not bend to those of the legislative authority. Distant as it may be in its present form from the Inquisition, it differs from it only in degree. The one is the first step, the other the last, in the career of intolerance. The magnanimous sufferer under this cruel scourge in foreign regions must view the bill as a beacon on our coast, warning him to seek some other haven, where liberty and philanthropy in their due extent may offer a more certain repose from his troubles. Woo! Woo! That passage is fire. Madison, dang. It goes against the very idea of the American project. Oh, you are still here. Okay. Have a good night. Thank you for being here. Memorial and Remonstrance is a great document. This is a great, great document. But because the proposed establishment is a departure from that generous policy, because it will have a like tendency to banish our citizens. The allurements presented by other situations are every day thinning their number. To superadd a fresh motive to immigration by revoking the liberty which they now enjoy would be the same species of folly which has dishonored and depopulated flourishing kingdoms, because it will destroy that moderation and harmony which the forbearance of our laws to intermeddle with religion has produced among its several sects. Torrents of blood have been spilt in the old world by vain attempts of the secular arm to extinguish religious discord by prescribing all difference in religious opinion. Time has at length revealed the true remedy. Every relaxation of narrow and rigorous policy, wherever it has been tried, has been found to assuage the disease. The American theater has exhibited proofs that equal and complete liberty, if it does not wholly eradicate it, sufficiently destroys its malignant influence on the health and prosperity of the state. If with the salutary effects of this system under our own eyes, we begin to contract the bounds of religious freedom, we know no name that will too severely reproach our folly. At least let warning be taken at the first fruits of the threatened innovation. The very appearance of the bill has transformed that Christian forbearance, love, and charity, which of late mutually prevailed, into animosities and jealousies, which may not soon be appeased. What mischiefs may not be dreaded should this enemy to the public quiet be armed with the force of a law? Because the policy of the bill is adverse to the diffusion of the light of Christianity. Not interested in that one. Okay. Because attempts to enforce by legal sanctions acts obnoxious to so great a proportion of citizens tend to innervate the laws in general and to slacken the bands of society. Don't pass unpopular laws. Because a measure of such singular magnitude and delicacy ought not be imposed without the clearest evidence that it is called for by a majority of citizens. Because finally, the equal right of every citizen to the free exercise of religion according to the dictates of conscience is held by the same tenure with all our other rights. If we recur to its origin, it is equally the gift of nature. If we weigh its importance, it cannot be less dear to us. If we consult the declaration of those rights which pertain to the good people of Virginia as the basis and foundation of government, it is enumerated with equal solemnity, or rather studied emphasis. Either then we must say that the will of the legislature is the only measure of their authority, and that in the plenitude of this authority they may sweep away all our fundamental rights, or that they are bound to leave this particular right untouched and sacred. Either we must say that they may control the freedom of the press, may abolish the trial by jury, may swallow up the executive and judiciary powers of the state, nay, that they may despoil us of our very right of suffrage, and erect themselves into an independent and hereditary assembly, or we must say that they have no authority to enact into law the bill under consideration. I mean, sure. I mean, fair. Okay, I'll add that one. While I receive with much satisfaction your address, replete with expressions of affection and esteem, I rejoice in the opportunity of assuring you that I shall always retain a grateful remembrance of the cordial welcome I experienced in my visit to Newport from all classes of citizens. The reflection on the days of difficulty and danger which are past is rendered the more sweet from a consciousness that they are succeeded by days of uncommon prosperity and security. If we have wisdom to make the best use of the advantages with which we are now favored, we cannot fail, under the just administration of a good government, to become a great and a happy people. The citizens of the United States of America have a right to applaud themselves for having given to mankind examples of an enlarged and liberal policy. A policy worthy of imitation. All possess alike liberty of conscience and immunities of citizenship. It is now no more that toleration is spoken of, as if it was by the indulgence of one class of people that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent natural rights. For happily, the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should demean themselves as good citizens, in giving it on all occasions their effectual support. Ooh, fire again, Washington, damn. Beautiful. I need to include this one when I talk to Nazis. Beautiful. It would be inconsistent with the frankness of my character not to avow that I am pleased with your favorable opinion of my administration and fervent wishes for my felicity. May the children of the stock of Abraham who dwell on this land continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of the other inhabitants, while every one shall sit in safety under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid. May the Father of all mercies scatter light and not darkness in our paths, and make us all in our several vocations useful here, and in his own due time and way everlastingly happy. Where does that leave us next time? Let's see. Still got 4 viewers. Dang. On my way to affiliate. Let's go. What am I doing? Just lost at this point. Okay. Next time. Exciting. I knew that's the first time that it's a fun topic. Okay, well, that'll do it for me tonight. Thank you for anybody who's... Oh no, I've forgotten my Twitch terminology. Oh no, what is it called? Oh, I almost remembered it. lurk. Thank you for any lurkers that are present. I'm No Nothing attorney. I know nothing, so you can too. Because it's only in embracing that we know nothing that we can actually learn anything. And that's the project. To learn. When we don't have any debates going, that's what we're going to be doing. We're learning. As always, I'm proud of you. I don't need to know you for that to be real. You deserve to hear it. Because life is hard. It's always been hard, and it always will be hard. And the way you face it each and every single day, the way that you do, is remarkable. So stay remarkable, and I'll see you next time. Same place, here, tomorrow night. See you then.